Hello, hello. Just need to check this clicker out. Hello, everyone. I'm Josh White, founder and CEO of Cano Water. Cano Water is this little thing over here. And yeah, so essentially, I'm a DJ. I've been DJing since I was 11 years old, DJed all over the world, mainly hip-hop music. And I don't really tell a lot of people this, but I DJed Boris Johnson's wedding as well, which is a bit strange. And yeah, didn't really know what my purpose was, to be honest, in life. I was a bit of a lunatic growing up, didn't really get through school very well. And in 2014, me and my two best friends basically went to Thailand, came across huge amounts of plastic pollution. I always tell people we were part of the problem, not really part of the solution. Didn't really care too much about sustainability, wasn't very much in our agenda. Always obsessed with brand and anything different. And through copious amounts of research, saw that aluminium is the most recyclable material on the planet. So when you recycle a can, it will always come back as another can. But essentially, the thing that shocked us the most is brands that we grew up loving, the likes of Evian, Coca-Cola, were basically just polluting the other side of the planet. And it's not something that in London any of us see. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind, and it shocked us enormously. And this was something that no one was talking about, especially in the UK. No one knew that this was happening. And yeah, essentially, by doing a little bit of research, you can see how bad it is. And it's just growing and growing and growing. So essentially, we were the first people in the world to put water in a can in 2016. At the time, people thought that we were absolute lunatics. I think that I was 22 years old. We had a small little office calling hundreds of people, and every single person basically put the phone down or said that canned water would never be a thing. And it was actually pretty embarrassing and scary. And most days, to be completely honest with you, we would go home in tears or just think that we're the only people flogging a dead horse. For about 3 years, we weren't really getting anywhere, but we kind of persisted. In 2018, we were 4 months away from running out of money. And we basically gave it our all. And on the last month, this gentleman over here, who quite a lot of you, I'm sure, know, did a program called Blue Planet. And within the space of about a month, we went from selling about 300,000 cans in 3 years to selling 12 million cans in 2019, which was pretty mad. But in essence, sustainability is boring, at the end of the day. And I think, for us, we wanted to do something a bit different. We didn't come from a sustainability background. But what we did know is we needed to make a lot of noise. And that's what we did, We turned up at Wimbledon asking if they were stuck in a toxic relationship with Evian. We put this washing machine outside Coca-Cola's biggest advertising spot. And we basically just did anything. It kind of was a fuck it moment for us, This was the way that we were heard. These big businesses, they don't necessarily care too much about the consumer and what they're consuming. They just care about their back pocket, and that was made very, very clear to us. And yeah, we continue to do this. We make a lot of noise. You can, as a brand, what I've learned over the past 10 years is you can get drowned out very, very easily. Big brands come in and they kind of copy you at any moment that they can, but authenticity has always been something and authenticity is a word that's thrown around a lot. Sorry. But the truth is, what is real authenticity? And there's actually not a lot of it out there. So yeah, just continuing to, really stand out, something that we've made very, very clear, especially within the team, is that we're not just jumping on a trend here. We are part of culture. Some of the things that, over the weekend, popping up at Glastonbury, you know, with a water for some of, you know, the most phenomenal brands and businesses out there, obviously Madfest, and essentially just through that, is that the... Yeah, through that, you know, we are ourselves, and you know, it's funny. I'll talk very quickly about saying last year a big brand from America came to the UK, Liquid Death, and that was that's a brand that a lot of people in marketing have been hearing about over the past few years. And Liquid Death are a phenomenal brand. They came to the UK trying as hard as they could to kind of blow Cano out the market, and I think, you know, at that point, especially as a CEO and a founder, do we try and become Liquid Death, or do we continue to be ourselves, who we are? And I think that over the past 10 years, I've seen many, many brands try and be everything else but themselves. And, you know, we are very proud to say that Cano has always stuck to its guns and always been, you know, who we are, which is essentially a premium canned water brand. And, you know, never forgetting why we're here. As a disruptor. One thing that we're incredibly proud of is that, you know, we've never ever paid a celebrity to interact with this product. This is something that will be at the F1. It'll be on Drive to Survive. It'll be, you know, whether it be on Lab Bible or Sky Sports or being held by Billie Eilish at her concert. You know, this is something that we are very proud of, because most brands spend hundreds of thousands of pounds to get this kind of coverage. And through that, you know, we've built a phenomenal distribution model organically without spending loads of money. Cano Water, you know, is the water at some of the most phenomenal businesses throughout the UK and continues to grow. This has actually changed in the past 2 weeks. We're close to 80 million cans. And, you know, as a founder, especially someone that, you know, if I think about 10 years ago, how many people thought that this would never, ever take off? You know, it really, you know, for me and for any other founders or anyone that's trying to grow a disruptive business, you know, if you've got, you know, if you believe it in your gut, you know, you just have to keep going, because the amount of times that we thought about giving up in the early days, I can't even explain it. And there's many, many canned waters out there. And if I think about it now, you know, there could either have been no canned waters in the UK, which wouldn't really help the plastic problem, or you just wouldn't have had a shot, really. You know, we've got some phenomenal backers, Ricky Gervais being one of, you know, our biggest investors, the Sidemen, who are some of the biggest YouTubers in the country, and other notable celebrities across the world who essentially have backed Cano Water and believe in it just as much as we do. And yeah, you know, we're only just getting started. 10 years is a journey. And I try and explain, you know, I think one of the hardest things, especially when trying to do something that no one in the world has ever done before, is basically just trying to, is education, really. You know, it's people are used to drinking out of a plastic bottle, and trying to get people to sort of get why you're doing something can take years and years and years. So, you know, the brand really is at a stage at the moment where it's only really just getting recognized. And yeah, I'm very, very excited for the future. Thank you.
That's it.
Any questions? Don't worry if not.
Hi, yeah, no, we do have one question.
Okay.
Sorry, are you ready? Sorry, coming in, I wasn't expecting you to wrap up so smoothly. What a lovely talk. Thank you very much.
You.
So, the question is in from Stephen Fage, and it is, do you plan to stick to importing water from Austria?
We don't actually have any water from Austria anymore. We have water just from the UK. I mean, I'm sure there are cans still that are still Austrian water, but we haven't actually brought any water from Austria in the past 12 months. And just, you know, I like this question, because I think that this is an example of how hard it is as a founder with, you know, not a lot of money behind the brand. So when we first started Cano Water, there was no one in the world that would put water in a can, because no one believed in it. So no one would get any of the kit, and no one would take the risk or believe in, you know, 3 22-year-olds that really had no idea what they were doing. It actually took about 9 years to actually be taken seriously, and for people to accept that canned water is a thing and is a growing category. So a year ago, we were approached by most of the co-packers in the UK to put our, UK, great quality UK spring water into cans. But before that, we just couldn't, no one in the UK would do it. So it is a very good question. And it's also the reason why Liquid Death was importing Austrian water to the US as well, because no one would do it. So it's a very good question, and yeah, our water is now good quality water from the UK.
Brilliant, it's great to hear. So yeah, I've got a question for you. So if you had to summarise, what's coming up in the next year, 2026 for Cano water? What can we look forward to?
So new variants, so potential flavours. It's something that we've been toying around for about 10 years. I think, as I said before, authenticity is key. We're not the kind of brand that would just launch into flavours for no reason. There's got to be a purpose around it. So it's definitely something that has been thought through and is very exciting. So that's definitely an exciting thing to watch for. And also some different variants of and different sort of sizes of cans and other, I can't really go into it, but other variants of aluminium, which is very, very exciting as well. Things that as well aren't in the UK, but are you can find in the US, and is something that we've been working on for a long time. And also we're launching in the US as well. So these are all things that are very exciting, not easy, take a lot of time, but very exciting for the brand.
Great. Josh, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Great talk. Cheers.